very much. Okay, good evening and welcome to the Duluth CSD regular meeting of the Board of Directors on this date, September the 21st, 2022. This meeting is now called to order. We will begin with a roll call. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Thank you. Carol. Here. D'Alessandri. Here. Rawson. Here. Roberts is here. Will everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, first item on the agenda is B, authorizing on-site and virtual board and committee meetings. Consideration and adoption of resolution number 22-17, authorizing on-site and virtual board and committee meetings pursuant to AB 361. Is there a motion? Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Paula. All in favor, Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
D'Alessandri? Rawson?
Aye.
Roberts? Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay. Moving smartly, C. Mr. Deputy Sam Perez. Sheriff's report.
Good evening.
Hi there.
Basically, to touch on basically that occurred at the golf course last month. It's our investigation. We would get time frame for the location that cameras inside. At canvass the area, was actually go find the camera that caught the suspect in the vehicle leaving. That information I was able to use the flock system that we had to lose to identify the vehicle, which in turn identified other locations, Temecula, Wine Country, Oceanside, and Lake Elsinore, Paris. They were burglarized locations. So they're both custody now.
Well done.
Since then, we had another burglary that occurred, a residential burglary that occurred off in Romatillo. And that location also had a camera. We got a time frame. I found a neighbor that had a camera that gave us the vehicle. In turn, Fox system were able to identify the suspect. So that was still ongoing right now. A matter of we basically identified the person. With other incidents. The key thing about this is that location on the camera, the street that was happening to the camera, and with that we identify the people with the Fox system. One things I noticed I had to assist because there was such a broad investigation in terms of the golf course one. One thing I did notice besides like I just mentioned is that they never hit a location on the side that had motion activated lights. So they always came to the back to hit the commercial building up here. So that's actually the most was that hey, these guys are looking for locations where there's no motion lights. If they have motion lights, they go around it. And in the first investigation, the suspect was at the location 10 days prior, and the residential burglary, they were there like 8 days prior. So they're coming up and they're stripping the area out, and then they're hitting. So that's why they take. The first one they took a safe. The second one was items I think identify the suspect with, but I never get into trouble with that. It's basically like both the suspects so far all have criminal records for recreational drugs. So you can pretty much surmise where that's going. But once again, back to us as a passage. If the people that are familiar to you, the area, it's probably not going to be a good deal over there. So please, as always, if you're suspicious, contact us. That way we can get something in the system. Any questions from the board?
Marijuana?
Yes, sir?
Have you had any marijuana?
No, sir. I mean, I'm sad but happy to say that. I'm happy because it's being driven out of our area. Kind of sad because they gave me a workout free that I got to go up there in those hills and give us a car, piss somebody off on the bad side, the good side, bad side. And also a lot of properties are happy because the water goes up. Down. So happy about that right now.
I heard that there was a fire started on Sandy Creek by the gate.
I heard about it also, but they haven't asked for my assistance in that matter. I do drive by on occasion because they provide me with a clicker.
Yeah.
So I drive by to make sure that it works because of the bad. It's always good to make sure it works. But I'm going to need details on that.
Which one is it?
It was a fire further down. I know that they have evacuated horses. I know somebody did that.
No, I had heard the one outside the gate that it was originally thought started by somebody. I just wanted to know if that was accurate.
I'll have the that investigation. They haven't reached out to me yet. But if they did, that's a lot.
The gate isn't our issue. It isn't in our district. Okay, but I'm just commenting. If you go down to the gate, right up to it, it's going to turn around. The only way to get back is to back up. And that's a potentially dangerous thing to do because there's a curve there. And if the car comes around, that could be. The turnaround is before you can see it. So there's an issue there. As I said, that's not our problem. It's up to us to do it. It's an issue, not an issue. Somehow reform that. That was one example of having a problem. I'm sure they could have it.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good job. Okay, we're moving on to public comments. Elizabeth's not here. Teresa will be our time auditor. Again, public comments are limited to 3 minutes. You'll be provided with 1 minute warning. Do we have anybody on Zoom that wish to make any comments? No? Okay, and we do not have any on-site public visitors, so no comments there. Okay, very good. We're going to go ahead and move on. And that'll be item E, information only. The following items are intended for information purposes only. That includes the financial statements and statement of investment policy. Directors, any comments or questions? None? Okay, moving on. F, consent calendar. Alrighty, number 1, minutes of the August 17, 2022 board meeting. 2 is general fund claims for August 2022. Sheriff's special tax claims for August 2022. And there are no purchase orders. Directors, any comments or questions? Okay, Robert moves. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Paula. All in favor? Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Alexandria? Austin?
Aye.
Roberts? Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you, everyone.
Excuse me, yes, we needed to, at the beginning, we needed to approve the resolution. Oh,
Yeah, we did.
the motion that just goes through, that we did.
Oh, okay. No, not a problem at all. Better to check. Okay, thank you. Alrighty, let's see. Item G, Buena Vista Reconstruction Project, and that is Mr. Stanley.
All right, good evening, everybody. So we know this item has been on pretty much for over a year now. So the good news is that you have some actual good news to share, hopefully moving forward. So Jim and I had a meeting with our environmental consultant, Recon, about two weeks ago. And basically just before that meeting, we got really good news from the Army Corps of Engineers. They are telling us that the last step, right now they're coordinating with SHPO, which is the State Historic Preservation Office, and that's going to be the last step. And the deadline for them to respond, basically, with any comments they may have, is hopefully September 29th. So at the end of this month is when we're expecting any comments. Well, waiting for any comments, but we don't expect, because the only kind of comments we would expect from them would be tribal, any tribal coordination or anything out there that involves tribal investigation. This is stuff that, usually will be found in initial investigation or in court, so there's no real findings of anything, not gonna say that we're not gonna get any comments, but, we'll go to answer that, but it would be very unusual, I guess, to get comments at this stage on that. But, so with that said, if that knocks down 29th, if we don't hear anything by then, we talked to the permit tech out there, just really kind of started drafting out the permit documents. As you know, we already have the regional water board, we already have the fish and wildlife, so the next step is this last Army Corps permit, and we're pretty much full speed ahead and good to go. So we're expecting, based on our conversation with her, they're expecting with that 7.9 closeout deadline, said within a couple of weeks, we probably have the permit documents back to us. That puts us at around mid-October that we would receive the permits, which that's been great news. And we presented this kind of committee, and it looks like I want to steal a shine on that, but it looks like if we did do that, we could start construction right away on that, and that puts us in the beginning of the rainy season, which as prior years would tell us, the rainy season will start around October, November. We really haven't seen the heavy rain that would affect us until around December, maybe. So after talking with the contractor, it seems like it'd be good if we could start early mid-October around that deadline. We'd still be good. Actually, good. The first step they're going to do is once they get that bottom of the channel built, then it's really not a big of a deal for stuff washing out and everything. That's only about a 2 to 3 week process. So I think that puts us in a good step, and kind of going on to the contractor. I did reach out to South End Paving, and they had no issue. We're starting around that mid-October deadline, so they're ready to go basically. They said they had crews available that we can go up there. So it looks like everything's kind of lining together right now. So we just have to keep our fingers crossed on that one. But the first step between that, if you see in the agenda package, is in order to proceed with construction, they have what's called mitigation fees. So what this is basically, it's called the San Luis Rey mitigation tank. And I'm going to put this in about as layman term as possible. It's a little more than they basically pay this fee to offset any disturbance trees, like the disturbed area and by the mitigation bank. And of course, as always, administrative fee tied to that after that. So basically, they pay them to get this. But once you pay the mitigation fees, that's the final fee for the permit, basically. And this is a condition that we don't want to work on, basically. So that's to allow us to start. So I think you see in the packet, I believe the fee was $23,000. And I think that we're cutting that check for that year, and I guess that's the discussion I guess with that. But once we pay that, that's kind of the last obstacle until we get that permit. And so if we pay that and get it going right after that, we can notice it's a start and show up with the payment. So that's why I think it's in our best interest to get this paid as much as possible and not that payment. So introduction to that.
You need a motion for that?
Yeah.
Well, that we,
Okay, so what it is that we have an agreement for sale of mitigation credits for San Luis Rey mitigation, /RWQCB file number R9-2022-0055. Motion?
yes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
D'Alessandro? Rossi?
Aye.
Roberts? Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much.
It's probably worth just pointing out, because someone looking at this, I think it's strange that this money goes to an LLC. Well, maybe you just need a very brief explanation why that is.
The finance committee has told that when I saw this document, we didn't have to care to do it. And I just found it interesting that it's drawn on this SNL buildings, LLC, with Delaware Corporation. It wasn't what I'm used to seeing in government documents. So I Googled it, and then I got to read all about this company. And it has something to do with, you know, until about 10 years ago, we were getting the policy change on the administration, where they took control of what they call U.S. law. So now, if you were required to get federal permit, before that time, it was a state permit, state part of work. Anyhow, so this process of doing like regional funding of the wetlands, things like that, are tied to the permit. The many things that's tied to anyone who's working in U.S. water has to contribute to the upkeep of U.S. water. And so they've got these formulas. But there's something about the law, the federal law, that you can't contract with the federal government to do that. So they've set up these agencies who then hires a company to actually do this wetland preservation. So for San Luis Rey, which is the watershed that we're in, it's controlled by this company that Wildland and SNOR. So it did check out because I could see other wetland projects and a description of the San Luis Rey, and that everybody in their watershed who does work has to pay into it through this company. So it appears to me is the closest I could come that is legit, because I saw a lot of other cities and agencies around this area that are doing exactly what we're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, but if you go on their website, the regional water board does directly mention this San Luis Rey mitigation thing.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the additional information, Chair. Okay, I'm going to continue, I believe, here with Mr. Stein. Aged 2022 annual pavement rehabilitation project.
All right, thank you. As you know, last week we gave you authorization to go out to bid on the project. Oh, that was last month, sorry. We did do the bid project, and we opened up the bids publicly on September 8th, basically, and we did receive 2 bids for the project, only 2 on this one, but the bids came in. You see in the agenda packet, the bids did come in a bit high, right now, higher than we anticipated, as you can compare to the engineer's estimate. So basically, the low bid was American Asphalt, basically, and they came in at $943,402. And the second bid came in at around $989,881. They're kind of close, which is always a good sign. It means everyone's interpreting the plans in the right way. Unfortunately, it's a little bit higher. And just to give a little background on just the toughness of how it is to estimate construction projects right now. You know, with Will Dam, we have multiple of my colleagues have jobs up to date. There's one job out in Pico Rivera that's about a $2 million job. We got the estimate within 1% using all our bid data and everything. But then with another job out in one of the adjacent cities out there, we're using the same data with what's supposed to be about a $3 million project, and the bids range from about 5.5 to 9 million on those. So the problem with this is we can't pinpoint one specific bid item or one specific item right now. It's higher on everything. It's just kind of all over the place depending on availability, and we do see that the contractors have they're kind of booked up right now. That tends to put prices higher because they have to rush other crews back and forth. So that's kind of what we're seeing across the board right now. It's hard to really pinpoint exactly what it is, but yes, the bids did come in a bit high, but I would say this is right now what it costs to construct this project. I went through, you see included in the agenda packet is our bid analysis spreadsheet. That's where we go through line item by line item, make sure it's the actual, with no unbalancing of the bids, and with nothing fishy going on basically. And we didn't see anything out of the ordinary. The 2 bids are right there with each other. So that's kind of You know, the bids did come in a bit high. I think our original budget was gonna be $725,000, but, you know, this is the cost to construct this project right now, unfortunately. So I think that, you know, we discussed this in the committee meeting and had a good discussion on that, but I think that right now we're recommending that we do go ahead. I'm recommending, I guess, after discussion, that we do go ahead with this project and see how we can move some money around and make this work, but, yes, so basically, the construction would be $943,402, and then, with design and C&M, you know, it comes up to just about $1 million, budgetary for this one. And then with that, you'll see there's also the 10% contingency. That's money that comes up if there are any unforeseen conditions out there. We don't have to come back to the board every time. We can just do a change order right there. You know, that money's always a pile of money. It's not necessarily spent all the time, but it's good to have that just in case something happens. So you don't want to disrupt construction at all. So that's what that money is. But basically, yeah, I guess the discussion, I think there's a resolution on whether we want to award the contract. The next steps would be award the contract. I talked to the contractor. They can have crews available around late October, which would put them at around the early December end date for this one. So that's kind of my introduction, but I think that opens it up to the resolution, which
And then maybe comment by the engineering committee if they, because we did discuss this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if there were any comments before we got into the resolution, either from Chuck or Gina. Anything you two would like to add?
We did review this in the engineering committee, and it was the committee's recommendation that we go forward with it, believing that we're only going to see elevated costs in the future, and of course the delays that would come from that.
Okay. Agreed. And you had a question?
Yeah, can you explain the page with all the yellow on it? I mean, there's so many numbers on here, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So because you have under American Asphalt 1.349, okay, and Roy Allen 1.472, but you tell us it's 939. So please explain this.
yeah. So basically, the way it works is you'll see that there's what we call 3 separate bid schedules. This bid is based on the base schedule, which is just bid schedule A. The reason we put bid schedule B in there is, I don't know if you remember, but last year prices came in a lot lower than we expected and actually below our budgetary value.
Okay.
So what that bid schedule B is, and if you enter the specification, it says option additive alternate optional or funding available.
Right.
So if the bids did come in low, we could accept that bid and do that extra amount of slurry. And the bid schedule C is just an extra, it's like an alternate method of to see what it would cost to do a full replacement. If we wanted to go that route, basically we could remove portions of it and do the full replacement rather than the slurry. That was just to get a good indication of the price. As you can see, it would be much higher if we did that. So that's just additive alternates to make sure we're getting the best product and getting the most out of our money, basically.
So would replacement cost 943 plus 308, or is it the sum of all three numbers?
So it's so bid schedule A would be that's the base bid. Bid schedule B would have been an addition, so that would be adding that together. And then bid schedule C, if you look at it, there's a subtracted value and an added value. So basically, it would be this. If we were to do all that work, it would be the sum of all those, basically.
Okay.
But right now, we're just awarding the base bid, basically.
Okay.
We're not
We didn't stay with our wish list.
Right, I understand.
And this should extend the life of our roads about, what, 10 years?
7.
7 years?
7 years. Yeah, 7 years for slurry.
And the type of slurry, this isn't like what we do on our driveways.
Yeah.
This is a Caltrans spec. And they used to fill the cracks first. Remember when you make these cobwebs and then you slurry over? You don't have to do that anymore because the slurry is so thick, you'll see it when it goes on. You don't even see the cracks anymore because it goes down into the cracks, it seals them. So it's an improvement over the years, and it will last. Then I was going to mention this later, but doing these slurries, the slurry is one thing, but you're also getting all new striping and all new pavement markings, and you're getting all the bars at the intersections all repainted. Which the advantage, the second and probably the biggest safety advantage of doing a slurry is nighttime visibility on your roads. Because the glass goes out of the paint, you know, periodically, and this brings them all back up, so.
Okay.
The biggest thing, another thing, I mean, this is the preventive maintenance, basically. I mean, this sealing these roadways is gonna make them last a lot longer and not have any potholes or San Diego Creek, Buena Vista type situations. It's always a good thing to do preventive maintenance rather than having to repair it.
Right.
So,
I have noticed where we've done slurries already, that heavy trucks, particularly some of the trucks that carry, I don't know, whether 30 or 40 bins, actually leave indentations in the road.
something
That's,
should be,
There's nothing you can do about that, I'm just saying, that's an issue.
it's base and the pavement itself, and probably hot weather.
And how about-
Lately, especially in the hot weather.
yeah, and if, so I would definitely, if you know any areas specifically, you can always reach out to me. And I'd like to investigate that because, I don't know.
See me after this.
Okay, well then.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? No, before we proceed. Okay, so let's proceed. Consideration of resolution number 22-18, awarding the contract for the slurry seal project at various locations and finding the project exempt from CEQA. Motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
D'Alessandro?
Aye.
Lawson?
Aye.
Roberts, aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh. You still with Mr. Stein? Engineering project, aye. Report an engineering study of the district roads. It would be,
Yeah,
this, okay,
we've had a change of players here.
Okay.
First base and moving to third base.
okay, not a problem.
We've talked about an engineering study of roads around various locations in the district. We scoped it out, what we wanted to do to the engineering committee. It's going to involve traffic primarily, and it's also going to involve engineering. We decided it made more sense in terms of people's time, et cetera, to sign this over to Mr. LeBring
Okay,
and have traffic be the lead on this, but it's all the same company. It's just who's
Right.
going to bring all the players together.
okay.
So, and then we've also clarified, well, Steve, you have a little brief, very brief scope of work. Perhaps we could just kind of read that.
Yeah, what we basically covered was how to define what the scope would actually be. And so we selected all the entering and exiting routes to the committee, which there's 5 of. And we said, let's start with that as a first phase. And so that identifies Duluth Road going out north of Capistrano, Rancho California, East Avenue to Del Oro, Camino Estribo going out past Gorion, Sandia Creeks west of Buenos Campos, and then Los Gatos north of Carancho. And what we would do is we'll take a look at the accident history that's available, and we'll look at the roadside shoulders and the pavement conditions, the signing, striping, all those existing conditions. And then we'll try to identify preliminary options of things that can be done that can make the road safer. And that, so if there's any enhancements, we can submit that report to you within a few months, depending on how much we decide to go into detail on all these different things. But we're estimating the report to be around $5,000 or so.
This is more of an information item without objection, so order, I guess. But we thought we should advise the board that this is kind of the direction this is moving and who would be responsible.
Very good, thank you, Steve. Okay, and we will continue with you, young man. J, traffic matters.
Okay, that'd be me. And
Yes,
we have a presentation to show tonight.
Okay.
So as you know, back on July 2nd, the San Diego County residents installed their gate access, limiting traffic to Sandy Creek. And we went out and did some counts. And so this is some pictures that were taken recently of, the vehicles who don't have the privilege have to still turn around, of course. Some of them don't read the 3 or 4 signs. So they went the other way. Drivers are notified with all these other signs and stuff like that. So there's plenty of ways to tell them what's going on so they don't do it again. And we took these counts on 1 month afterwards, so that kind of gave the traffic time to settle down, where to get out, and everything else like that. Next slide. And so here's what we got. Just because there's a way to remove that zoom or minimize it a little bit. Anyway, so Sandy Creek, right down by the county line. As you know, before we opened up the road, was getting just about 2,000 cars a day, with about 1,000 coming through that 2-hour peak in the PM. After we opened up the road, because it's been 3.5 years, and it actually dropped down there to 1,700 and then after we put it into shape and got through the Deanza, the Buenos Campos section there, no longer using the detour, then we got all the way down to 243 cars. So you can see the traffic has really dropped significantly out there. And with this gate in place, you only have 30 cars coming through in the peak hour. Avenida Doro, again, you can see the numbers dropped from 3,000 down to 2,100. So we lost about 900 cars on that street, about 400 or 500 of them in that peak hour. Next slides. Buenos Campos, obviously huge drop because the detour route and nobody coming through the gate now. You're down to 3 people during the peak hours, 35 for a whole day. Now that's over 90% of the traffic is gone. Eureka, same thing, same kind of numbers. Numbers are almost identical. Next slides. So this is on Sandy Creek. This is on Deanza, and you can see again huge drops on Deanza, especially during the peak hours. And Eureka section there to Tierra Camera, there's still some traffic now that goes out to the westerly part of the district. This is on camera, so it's a continuation out towards Duluth Road in Carancho. You can see the numbers are down at 364. And the section on Sandy Creek is now 700 instead of almost 1,700. So that, again, about 1,000 cars dropped right off the face of the earth there. We did a count before and after. That's in the way that the numbers are pretty much the same on El Prado South, so it's not like they're going on anything over there. And then if you notice on Los Gatos, daily, there's 153 cars that are using that hill, and only 19, which is less than 10 per hour during the peak hours. All right, so where are they going? Well, most of them have left the community and gone back to the freeways or gone around in some way, shape, or form. We did have an increase in traffic on Duluth Road itself between San Diego County Line and Bueno Loma there. About 200 cars a day, 150 of those during the peak hour. So some of those are residents who live in the area, who instead of going down Sandy Creek to go straight through, now go the windier road of Duluth to go through. And Duluth Road, north of Kaya Capistrano, you see has had a huge drop of over 400 cars a day, and nearly cut by 55% during the peak hour too there. So those sneak out to Marietta. Yeah, it's gone way down too. So, in summary, traffic on Santa Cruz has obviously substantially dropped, you know, which less traffic means more gaps for everybody trying to exit on the side streets or the driveways. The cut through traffic is dramatically reduced. You know, this was 4 years ago when you hired me, that was the big topic was, you know, what are we gonna do with these extra 1,000 or 2,000 cars? Oh,
Yeah.
they're gone. Peak hour volumes are significantly down, and it doesn't look like the alternate routes that are being used are adversely affected, so. That's our report, happy to answer any questions.
Good input. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Agenda item K, which is going to be road maintenance field crew report. And let me see, that will be Mr. Castle. Welcome.
Thank you. TJ is our new acting field services supervisor, so he's the man in charge out there.
Thank you very much. First, I want to introduce our newest employee to the field crew, Wyatt O'Vera. He's doing really good out there, and we're happy to have him to help us out. So,
Well, welcome.
thank you. So at the beginning of the month, fire marshal contacted us to have us do some weed abatement. So we did that just due to fire season approaching. Some of the major roads that we hit were Carancho, Los Gatos, Sandia Creek.
Excellent.
And we are currently doing drain inspections right now. We're actually almost done. We have probably about 30 to 20 more left. So tomorrow we'll be all done. Getting ready to get them unclogged or replaced or whatever the next objective is. But the drains are organized by zones, zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're all put into the field maps and written down by zone, pipe number, and the condition, poor, okay, or like perfect.
Photographs, correct?
Yeah.
And that's into the GIS system,
Yeah.
so that we can do before and after comparisons as years go by each year, what did it look like this time last year?
Yeah.
So that's all being done now.
Yes, exactly.
That's the purpose of the inspections.
Yeah.
So this is round one.
And then if you see any white dots spray painted out there, that means that's easier for us to navigate the next time we do it. So that way they're not as hard to find. Obviously it says zones 1 and 3 are complete, but we are done with zones 1, 2, 3, and 5, and currently finishing up the end of 4. And then, yes, there's some pictures of what perfect pipe, what the pipe should look like. Next slide, please. So my apologies for we weren't here last meeting, and this was for why. This was on Via Los Ventos.
That was a sinkhole, correct?
Yeah, sinkhole.
Who paid that?
We did.
This project was entirely done on our own staff.
Yes, sir.
Say it louder because Jess is doing it for most. Just say next slide now.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Next slide.
And I got back up. Oh, okay, no more.
So we were actually already down there doing some weed abatement ourselves, but there was a trash truck that actually passed us a little bit and drove up there, and he was the one that actually ran into the sinkhole and caved in more, and then he drove back down to us to let us know. So we went up there to check it out, inspected it. So then we decided to go ahead and take care of that. So then we called Vulcan Material, ordered up about 4 tons of asphalt, grinded it out with the grinder on the skid steer, compacted that layer, And there's actually some holes in there. I don't know if you saw in the picture. On the layer like underneath, it's due to like squirrels, gophers, snakes getting through and everything. So we actually compacted that layer so that way hopefully they won't come back up there anymore. We laid out the new asphalt and raked it till it was smooth, and then came with the roller to flatten it out to make it look perfect. Next
How
slide.
much you save on that, Jim?
15,000. Yeah, we've been about a $25,000 job, maybe a little more. And what do you, all the bills when they came in, what do you guess?
I think total after we're done, I think we only spent 12, 10.
But we didn't have to pay for that equipment.
Right.
That's part of the down payment.
Yeah, the only thing we had to rent out was just that roller. And we already had the skid steer and all the attachments. I actually found this tree down 2 Fridays ago on El Prado. Cut that up and got it up out of the way so traffic could just flow regularly. Next slide, please. So this is on Avenida del Oro, kind of rough spot, and I'll let Jim.
Yeah, we were thinking about if our price, this was taken before we got our bids. So we were thinking about if the price came in good, that maybe we could add this section because the property owner nearby has called about it for a number of years. I mean, this didn't just happen, but it's not getting any better. But unfortunately, you saw bid C, B, and C. We don't have the funds right now, so there's not much we can do about it.
What were
So
you proposing to do?
I don't know, that's still.
So it
a work
wasn't
in
just a
progress.
slurry seal on that.
I'm sorry,
It wasn't just a slurry
it's gotta
seal.
be done.
Yeah.
We got a bid, $95,000.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
We just wanted a ballpark.
How wide, how long and wide is that?
I believe the bid that I got on my phone, it was about 7,000 total square feet
Okay.
that they wanted to do.
It goes for quite a distance. It basically fills an entire lane plus,
Right.
Yeah.
it's a lot. And it's been on the list, according to the people who called, they've been talking to us for years, or, because it's a big project, and these are scattered around the district. And we just have to address them as we go.
Is there anything that can be done temporarily to just improve it a little? I don't mean you're going to expect it to do anything major, but is there anything that can be done that's not expensive that could perhaps make it a little bit more easily traveled?
If there was a pothole, I don't really see, you see a lot of the alligator cracking and
Right,
falling,
right.
so you really have to just, I mean, you could fill that. I don't know, there's really nothing you can do, especially, I think it runs about, I don't know the correct exact number, but I think it was about 1,000 linear feet, that's 7,000 square feet. So there's really nothing you can do. If there weren't big potholes, you can pass through it. I think they have the capability, they pass potholes, and actually we just saw that, the last couple of slides, but right now when it's that far, it's gotta be a full dig out. If we slurried over that'd be back within a month.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, and you see it's $100,000. Unfortunately, our slurry seal projects can't cover those kind of items with the budgets we have. That's another thing. We did 6 of those, that'd be it basically for our budget.
Right.
So
Sure.
that's kind of the battle we face right now is managing the budget and getting the most out of it for our roadways, basically. Yeah, there'd be no easy fix for that, basically.
And filling the cracks, like they used to do, wouldn't help at all.
Just keeps the water out for a short time, but that's just cosmetic or temporary.
It's a prep, basically. That's like, they just go in and seal the crack, but you can see like with the spalls there, I think water can go through that whole area.
Yeah.
So you can't really fill with those kind of stuff.
I'm just looking for something that would tell the people there that we're trying to address it.
Yeah, we hear.
That's all.
If I could make a comment here, In the engineering meeting, we discussed this for a while, and I think that the general feeling was that because we're working nearby on the engineering project, there would be a savings involved for location of equipment, that sort of thing, along with the fact that we're probably earlier in the inflation cycle than we'll be later if this is delayed. Certainly my feeling was that if we could work this into the existing project, there'd be some benefits to that.
But that's a possibility because of the 10% is about $100,000.
Yeah.
So if we were gonna talk to the contractors, we're just getting started. So this, I guess that's really why this is here. It's like this pending project and what might be. So if we have no extras that come about, then when they're doing their other repairs, because there's other repairs associated prior with slurry, so they will have the equipment nearby. So it's a possibility.
Very, very nearby. We're actually doing it, the first leg of Rancho, California. It doesn't go that far.
Where was that section located?
Where you turn off Sandy Creek, you keep going and it's probably a mile.
Yeah, it's like,
Okay.
it's like right off of Cali Capistrano.
I was just gonna say, that's there, okay. Okay.
So we'll keep an eye on that and see if there's some way we might be able to work that in.
All right, yeah, keep us informed on that.
Yeah, okay. And, that was it for me. Any questions? Anybody?
Thank you very much.
All right,
Well
thank
done.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, K, let's see now, L, recycle program, Mr. Andrews.
Okay, this is really just an informational and general discussion item tonight. We have with us Joanna Jen with the BB&K up in Sacramento, and she's been working on this whole Cal Recycle program for the last year or so. So just by way of updating, I've given you in your packet the general information that we've shared in the past. So if there's any questions about how the program works or whatever, please at this point, feel free to bring it up. Joanna has drafted the ordinance that would put this in place. And but understand that the ordinance itself is I'll let Joanna explain it, but basically this complies with state law and it's tailored to, Joanna has tailored it to address issues in our specific district.
Okay.
But in other kinds of local government actions, you can propose an ordinance and you have a public hearing and you listen to the public and address those issues if you choose to, and then go forth with your law. That's not quite the same on this. We don't have a lot of latitude in terms of what we can and can't do on this recycling and what the goals are. But Joanna can explain that. I just want you to know that this is coming. I talked to Cal Recycle today. I told them kind of where we're at and that we were going to have this discussion tonight. And that I think surprised them. And I told them that you were moving forward with the possibility of complying, to comply. And that the plan was that we would adopt the ordinances sometime this calendar year. There's not much left. So it will be October, November, December. And that seemed to be fine. But then I mentioned to them that our contract company, CR&R, can't get the equipment to do this work until probably July. And we talked about that. And she said, well, I've heard this before, and we understand, you know, if you can't get a truck to do the work. I also talked to her about that we were planning to have regular, the brown can, regular trash collected every week in one vehicle, and that we would add a second vehicle and do recycles opposite weeks, so that rather than putting 3 trucks on the road every week, we'd be down to 2, which would reduce the hazard associated with collecting trash on the little roads. And they seemed very happy with what I was telling them. And then I said, but since we can't put this into place until like at least July, because there's no trucks available. We have talked to a potential assembly person about introducing legislation on our behalf to give us back the rural waiver that we're entitled to. And we're only not getting that because of the way Cal Recycle interprets one sentence and uses census tracts that cover 2 incorporated cities, which in that sentence it says only the unincorporated area, but you can read it A or B. But she was fine, she understood. And so I said, well, during that period, we could see how it goes. And so she said, okay, that's fine. And that I agreed that we would do the reporting, which comes up a little bit later because now there's all of this reporting. And so I'm proposing that we have one of our people, a new position, that one of the responsibilities in addition to the reporting would also be overseeing this or doing all the work. That made them very happy. And so I'm, you know, we're compliant. But the question is, when would we put this in place? Because we can't put it in place until July. And one more piece of information, I talked to Alex after that phone call. And I told him what I just told you. And Joanna's hearing this for the first time too. So, and this is interesting. They called at 1 o'clock. I just answered the phone and there they were. So anyway, it gave us a lot more information though. But the program entails is the 2 truck once a week, every other on the recycle, would increase the cost from 41, I'm rounding these, you're paying about $41 a month for the minimum, and it would go up $20 a month if we go with the bi-weekly. Now, if we were to go three trucks, we put it to about $30 more. So you go from 40 to 70. And this would go from 40 to 60. And that's essentially it in terms of the details. I think we have to work on. But then in talking with Alex, I said, can you really get them in July? How do you know? Well, here's the deal. They put in an order for 80 trucks in January of 21. They've had 13 delivered, and about half have been defective in the first month.
Wow. Where are they coming from? Or do you
Wherever
hear the
they
states?
get uncharged trucks, I don't know. So the question is, are we really gonna have them by July? And when I said July, Cal Recycle didn't say, make a peep of that. So I said to Alex, is that realistic? And he said, you know, if it were up to me, the target date would be the first quarter of 24.
Wow.
Which is another year
Wow.
and 3
Yeah, that's
months. It sounds way off, but it's really a year and 3 months.
Right.
But if they've ordered 80, oh, and the other thing is because we didn't jump on this bandwagon early, of those 80, we're like 79.
That good.
25.
Yeah.
2025.
But they're all distributed out to the other cities.
They need it more than we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of, the debate here or whatever. The amount for 800 customers, the money and time and effort, but she said to me, but yeah, our goal is we want every citizen in California recycling the same way. And I think she even said, we understand, but this is what we want. So I said, no, I'm not thinking back. I said, if I took a jury of 12 people off the street and I showed them what we're talking about doing, and then showed them how much result we're gonna get out of our 800 customers, I think it would be too low, that this is impractical, that makes no sense. And then I said, you have to remember, our folks, you are elected to protect public safety, okay? And there's hazard in rural area. And, I mean, it's gotta be done, and so you take some hazard, but to get this little extra amount this way, and she didn't speak that, but the answer was, we want everyone in California to be the same. So that's my report, and it's much more detailed than I thought. I thought we were going to be talking about ordinances and things, but so I guess I turn it over to Joanna for comments, or she's here to answer any questions. If you have questions how this works or what we're going to do, Joanna.
Welcome.
Good evening, and directors. And Jim provided a great update. And the only thing I would add is there might be a little bit more options on the table with timing. And as you already are familiar with, the district has applied to CalRecycle for a low population waiver from the organic waste collection requirements. And there were 2 ways to qualify for that waiver. The first way is if the census tracts have a population density of less than 75 people per square mile that are served by the district and that are located in the unincorporated areas of the county. And the second way is if the district disposed of less than 5,000 tons of solid waste in 2014, and there are less than 7,500 people in the district. And it was clear that the district had disposed of less than 5,000 tons. I believe it was about just over 2,000. And it's also clear that there are less than 7,500 residents. So the district believed that it, and still does believe that it qualifies for the waiver under both criteria, but was denied. CalRecycle may be reconsidering whether it will use the 2014 tonnage data reported to the county instead of directly to CalRecycle. Their position in the denial letter was that the information was not submitted directly to CalRecycle when in the electronic annual report, but there was no obligation, and there's still no obligation for the district to report directly to CalRecycle. The process is the district reports everything to the county, and then the county submits it to CalRecycle. And what had happened since 2014 was the county was getting all this information and then aggregating it then sending it off to CalRecycle instead of having a line item to report on each of the sub-entities under the county. So from CalRecycle's perspective, it almost seemed as if the district did not report, and that's unfair. So, you know, CalRecycle may be reconsidering whether it will use the 2014 tonnage data that CR&R has identified and which was in fact reported to the county instead of directly to CalRecycle. And so that may allow the district to qualify under the second method I described. And so I would like to resubmit the low population waiver to prompt CalRecycle's reconsideration and response, and to report back to the board as we pursue all the options that Jim had mentioned.
Wow, that's great. That's certainly, and that came up, that this is the report that they called me about, that EAP. Electronic something report, EARCA. You know what I'm talking about, Joanne?
Yes, it's the electronic annual report.
Okay, so they were calling us, Jill Lerner, I believe, and someone, to say we had like a week to get this done. And so when I called Alex and they said Alex's people can help us and blah, blah, blah. And when I called Alex, Alex said, well, you should have said the county reports that.
Right.
And I said, well, they don't apparently know that because they think we have to do it. He goes, you ever done it? And I go, no, we never have. And he said, I'm sure if you call the county, they're reporting for you. And so I don't know why she's calling you to do this report, because I think every year in the past, but I didn't connect the dots between that other waiver and this report. So it's good we have this discussion. I'm not sure where it's gonna go, but try. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna be calling somebody tomorrow morning, right?
Yes, I will be submitting paperwork and calling someone tomorrow morning.
Great, great. Thank you.
And then the other thing is, BB&K has a lobbyist inside, works in the office that Joanna works in Sacramento. And so we're doing it Monday afternoon, I think, it's kind of a meet and greet discussion with him. Because the legislature's now gone home to, do elections and stuff. So things are quiet, and just get his opinion on how we might go about getting a bill. Now, we've done the bills before, we've becoming bill experts here. And we know how expensive and all they are, but just presenting a bill or getting a bill introduced could create a forum, where you've got committee staffs and, the governor's office has to look at it and this and that, of finding a way, maybe tagging on to someone else's bill, or, and I'm just talking for me, but making the governor's office aware, of their interpretation. Any number of things can come out before you start spending a lot of money. So anyway, we just thought we would explore this, probably report back next month. But another possibility, and we've talked to assembly candidates very recently who we discussed this issue briefly with them. And I think they would do the bill. And so they're not elected yet. But it will be our assembly person or senator. There's another one out there too. And perhaps we could have Joanna draft the bill, because she used to do that kind of work, or at least something, because when these folks show up in December in Sacramento and we're asking them to introduce this bill right away, it would be nice if we could just present it and say it's already written, because they're not going to have staff or anything for a while. So does Is that something you could do, Joanna? I was gonna ask you that Monday, but.
Yes, Jim, absolutely, I can do that. And I had been thinking about it, so I do, and it would be a simple change. So I do have some initial language that I could present to you on Monday.
Oh, we're moving along.
Good.
Yeah, looks like we're a little further down the road.
That's a nice turnaround.
Seems like Joanna to the next meeting too. I did CC you all that, should have got you here on the phone. I CC you on all that stuff Cal Recycle wanted today. So it's in your email. You might take a look at what they're asking us to do.
That sounds good. And I did see that pop up in my inbox. Thank you, Jim.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Great information.
Yeah, a little different direction.
Definitely. I won't get too excited, but.
Hey, we haven't had any excitement in a while, so. Really.
Thank you, Joanna, very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, let's see. Okay, agenda item M, and that will be committee reports and engineering. No, we're not passing the ordinance yet. This is
No, it'll be on the next
on the
one.
next one, yeah, so. That will be October, I believe, October, maybe November, we'll see in terms of the ordinance on that. Okay, well, heading into the committee reports, engineering committee report. Robert? Oh, no, excuse me, Chuck. Chuck?
I'm sorry. We've covered much of it tonight, but on the engineering committee, we met on September 13th and received the progress reports that we've heard tonight from both project engineering and traffic. We did recommend to the board the acceptance of the low bidder for the slurry work and asked traffic engineering to provide the preliminary statement of work that you heard earlier tonight. So I won't repeat any of that. I think it's very positive that we're actually moving forward on the Los Gatos project. I'm sorry, Buena Vista project, and finally getting moving on the road improvements.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the finance committee report.
Thank you very much. We met yesterday and we've seen some of the things that we discussed already, so I won't go through that either. We did review the slurry seal project in terms of the finances related to it. We also looked at, and I'm going to let Jim report on the review of administrative service classification. So we do that, so I won't have to go through that. The other thing we did was to look at an update on FEMA and how much money we've received. We've received about 1.6 million. We're waiting on about 350,000. And then there's another 432,000 out there. That's a possibility. Yes. Okay. And that actually, some of that may have to, we may have to go the arbitration route on some of that. That's general discussion, nothing specific, but you get the overall amounts. The other thing I want to report on, you've already seen it. You are now getting 0.99% daily. This is a big increase. And, but if we spend all that money that we're talking about tonight, we won't have that much in there to get the 0.99.
Oh, goodness.
It's just an indication of interest rates going up, and they may go up further.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it is. That's generally things that we talked about.
Okay, thank you very much. Last one is a legislative committee report, that's the SB 415, and the committee met on 2 days, August the 31st and September 7th. We are in the final stages of the legal opinion in terms of the preparation of the documentation. And within a reasonable amount of time, that will be completed. And then we will look at calendars and connect with Supervisor Kevin Jeffries to present that legal opinion. And I think that was it, if I recall correctly. Okay. Moving on, we're going to be going into Agenda N, which is personnel matters, authorization of administrative service classification and salary ranges, and that is you, Mr. Emmons.
Okay, thank you. To address the issue that the Finance Committee asked me to report on, we have before you a resolution and a package of materials. It's been a long time since we've really looked at the job positions that we have here at the district. And you've noticed in quite a number of your items, all of these new projects, programs, reportings, et cetera, et cetera. I think those things have reached a point where they need to be addressed. And the Finance Committee began discussing this about a year ago, that it was really falling to finance to do, like when FEMA requires so many more new processes that we have to undertake than we have in the past. If you just look around for bodies in the office during the daytime, there aren't very many to pass that onto, and it's been impacting finance significantly. And the committee had pointed that out, so we kind of took a look at it. We need another finance person. And we found that it really isn't the financial issues. Accounting pretty much is the same year after year after year, but it's being dumped on. The FEMA needs this report, we have to do that. And now we've got this draft report we have to do. And these aren't simple little things to do, because they're made for agencies that are huge, promulgated by agencies that are huge. The area codes begin in 202, which is Washington, D.C. And there's no similarity between their operation and our operation. And yesterday, I was on the phone all afternoon about a FEMA issue, and I had to remind them, we have 3 people here, folks. You know, you want us to just blow out all these big projects, but as it turned out, and I'm going to get into that in the next item about FEMA. It's just a matter that the hoops have to be jumped through. Nobody cares we have 3 people, okay? It's just, you will do this, all right? And so anyhow, we looked at it and we concluded that there's a certain section of our accounting operations, and it's payroll and it's accounts payable. We gotta pay the bills and we gotta pay the paychecks. So in an emergency situation, that's the first responder items, okay? And Jessica has been with us a while and has done some of those functions in other companies over, you know, her career. And so she's indicated an interest in picking like accounts payable up from Teresa permanently, okay? Which would then give Teresa more time to do more responsible FEMA projects or cow recycle projects. And then we need somebody who can back up payroll no matter what, because on the 15th and the 1st, that's got to get done. So we need a second person. And so we're thinking that we would shift that over to Jessica. And then all these special projects, Jessica's running this remotely from home tonight because her son has got COVID. But and I'm going to mention in a moment, you know, some of the things that we've done in the last 5 years. But everything you're seeing around this room and the way we conduct this meeting and the laws that regulate the conduct of these meetings have all changed. And Jessica being having an interest in these kinds of things, has more or less taken the ball and run with it. And so she's the one running all this equipment. Now, we pay IT people and all that, but day to day, this has become an area of her job that she has just assumed. And then I'm assuming, I don't know now, but this whole issue with Cal Recycle. And I mean, when they call me today and says, you know, hope you got time, October 3rd is like next week. You know, you need to get all the, like, what reports, what this, what that. Oh, sorry, it's gotta get that. And that's just the way it is, you know. So we're playing in this big government world, and we're taking the benefits as much as we can, you know. So anyway, what we're proposing is creating a new position, which we've titled Administrative IT Manager, with a job description that includes all those functions. Moving Jessica into that position, and then refilling the administrative assistant, that one of the responsibilities every month is to make this meeting happen. So all the papers and the board packets and all these things would then remain with that position, which frees Jessica up to work with Teresa and to do these other special projects. And then I can divide depending upon the skill levels required for these projects that are thrown at us by other agencies. We either go to Teresa, we'll have a little more time, or we'll go to Jessica. So we have new job descriptions. I've done salary surveys of neighboring agencies, trade funds similar. It's very hard because everything, we're so small that the positions include everything. So I tried to find some comparables and salary ranges. So that's all set forth in resolution number 2219, I believe.
Yes,
You can tell me type this stuff. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions. And this has been reviewed by the Finance Committee. We wish to make any comments.
Just that we agree with this. We've been talking about these variations. I don't want to prolong the discussion, but I think we feel very strongly that this is very important. We also looked at the immediate increase in compensation is not dramatic. So see the ranges there, but the immediate increase is not dramatic. And I think that was another issue that we wanted to take a look at. And the last thing, we just agree with Jim that adding another accountant, there isn't, and I think Teresa would agree with this as well, it is really not a good option because there isn't enough real accounting work. I mean, there's a lot of other work, but it's not accounting work specifically. It's payables and it's payroll, that sort of thing. So we agree with this.
Yes.
So just to make sure I'm understanding, so you're looking at hiring one new position and then increasing you two ladies, what they're doing.
So what I'm going to do is elevate Jessica
Yeah.
to the new position and then hire a new front office
Got it.
administrative assistant.
So that would be the admin assistant, that's, all right, okay, got it,
Right.
okay, just want to make sure I understood.
And right now, we tried it for the last couple of months. And we have with Isabel, who I think you've all met, who's in town. And has been doing a great job, so she will be my likely candidate to fill that position because for the last month it seems to be working out. And she's done a good job.
Say one thing, I am absolutely so happy that we're doing this because we all three get along so good, and by shifting everything around, we're all not gonna be as haggard and stressed out, and it's gonna work beautifully. So I am just so happy.
She's so happy that she's agreed to stay for 10 years.
Like Robert said, we've been monitoring this for some time, and there's been a lot of dialogue on this, and like Jim said, there have been so many changes operationally, from the finance perspective and so forth. So yes, it's definitely due. Chuck, any comment or question? Chuck, any comments or questions before we move on? Uh-oh.
Unmute.
It's muted.
Oh, yeah,
Muted.
we need to. There you go.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, you can. Any comments or questions before we move on?
I think I muted myself to make the comments. I've been following the conversation there along with some documentation sent out, and I think I'm up with you.
Okay. All righty, then let's move on to the consideration of resolution number 22-19, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Duluth Community Services District adopting the job classification and salary ranges. Motion to approve?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll move to.
Okay,
that
okay.
resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Harold?
Aye.
D'Alessandro? Lawson?
Aye.
Roberts? Aye. Unanimously approved. Well done. Thank you very much on that. Okay, well, we're not done with Mr. Emmons over there. Moving on to O, General Manager's Report, District Update, etc.
I have a few minor items, I guess. Yesterday, we received from our law firm and their experts a response to San Diego County regarding the winery. So they have now officially been put on notice, and I'll forward this to you. I've intended to. But anyway, it's basically putting them on notice legally that we wanted to see at that table because we are the transportation issues related to that development application. We did get a response back, or the law firm, I saw a copy, did get a response back that they will take this into account and let us know what they're doing. And that's really what I wanted to make sure got on the record, because normally they would call their road department for all their comments and conditions and whether you can do this or not. Their road department had nothing to do with this. The transportation comes through us. So I think it's pretty clear. And at least that's now been accomplished, getting it on record. So I'll get copies to all of you. Okay. The issue came up in the finance report because things have been really moving the last few days, fast. But Cal OES and FEMA are holding up $432,000 of our funds based on environmental. And we had to do a new environmental impact report, which cost you all, started at 100, then it went up to 200, because originally we were going to line the pipes at Sandy Creek. And then they said, well, we don't do mining anymore. We don't pay for that, even though they paid for it on the small projects. Just tear it all out and put in new CIP. We said, well, that's a lot of money. And they said, well, we'll pay for it, but we're not going to pay for lining pipes. So we had to go back through the environmental process. This was a couple of years ago. Now it all looks so silly. At the time, you couldn't crystallize it and what was going on. But basically that. We want it this way, so we'll pay. But then the problem is then you have to go through their whole process all over again and change the scope of work and this and that. They keep saying the applicant wants this, and I keep writing back, no. You asked us to do this, okay? And so anyway, now the environmental people have sent us a letter saying, we want all 16 questions here answered. Well, our environmental consultant's been gone for a year and a half. You know, it's all over. And the one thing is at the bottom, they have a little thing they put at the bottom of the letter that says, and please don't start work until you consult us. Well, we chose to start work last December. And thank God we did, because we got that 12 inches of rain in December. So those pipes would have ended up down at Buenos Campos. But anyway, what's question one? Please certify that this project hasn't been started, and then answer all these questions with Ron, is the environmental questions, and then they'll send you the money. So I've been stressing out about that, so this meeting was scheduled for tomorrow. And of course, can't lie, and you say the project's finished, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, during the arbitration, I spoke with Debbie, when you and I were at that conference with David Gillings, who's the head of all Cal OES. He's the big boss, works for the government. Right? So I just think, what the heck? We had to give me a cell phone for the arbitration. So I called to David Gillings, and I said, hey, there's a Jim Evans and the lose. This guy's sharp. I talked to him for what, at least an hour. And Teresa's in there, he said, send me these papers, so she's scanning them and emailing them to him. And he and I are looking at the same papers. And he goes, I'll tell you how to do this. And he goes, no, you tell him that. He says, because they got COVID real bad in Washington, D.C. and it didn't work for a year and a half. So everything's backed up. And so he asked them to respond to us on December 23rd of 21 or 20. He asked them to respond to Duluth within 60 days, and we never heard. And we considered that at the time. When are we going to hear from these people? And then the decision was made, let's go, let's get this done. So he said, just tell them that it would have washed down to Los Campos. They hear the song. And we just have to, well, he said, you can probably do that pretty good. You just need to kiss them. It depends on what their attitude and their feeling is that morning. So what we've done is Ron's going to get the environmental people to come back, answer all these technical questions, because my position has been, these people are gone. The environmental, we put it, read the book. It's this fine. You guys read it and answer your own questions. And I wrote them a letter to that effect in a nice way. And no, they want to read. So like he said, they want to read. They promulgate it. You do it. And you give all the documents, okay? And then they have a meeting and say, now, just tell us what's in here. And then they check it off. And then it's in there. And then you get your money. So anyway, I postponed that for 2 weeks. They're going to get a couple of environmental people. He's going to sit in on the meeting, David Gillings, and away we go. So compared to the other day, I was all, bummed out. And so, we'll see. But this guy, and he couldn't remember if we got the money or not from our arbitration. He sat through the whole thing before. And so we'll see.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, so that's why you keep people's cell phone numbers.
So 2 weeks you said, right?
So-
2 weeks?
So the last thing is I was just like, so what have we been doing in the last 5 years? I've done this in the past. And the meeting has gone on quite a while. And this has been very interesting. A lot of things have happened that I didn't really expect it. But a lot of things have happened, I don't think 5 years ago, thinking back on the issues and the way we were dealing with the issues, that there's any comparison whatsoever. And we've come so far in so many different areas. And just a few things, I'm not going to go through this list. It's writing. You don't want to hear all that, but the way we talked about all the new systems, but like last night, so Gellings, it's just 5:30 at night, and he's on his cell phone, I'm on my cell phone, he's sitting his on, I'm sitting right, and he's saying, well, show me that paper, show me that 2020 letter I wrote for you, and he's like, well, just hand it to me, let's look at it together. And so I go, Teresa, get in here. So she's running over to the scanner. And then we're talking, he said, so how did that turn out? He goes, what did you think of those 3 judges? And I said, I don't think I should say. Like, I shouldn't either. And then I said, so how's it going with the Paradise Fire? I mean, that's incredible, and he's like, oh, it's just unbelievable, a little small talk. And then, oh, okay, it's here. And then we're sitting here looking looking at the same document. Even 5 years ago, you couldn't do that. But in order for us to stay relevant, we have to have the same. When I came here, and this is not, I'm not putting anybody down, but I felt so comfortable with the systems we had because those are the same systems I started my career on. And not all the equipment was that old, but the methodologies and the sort of programs and stuff like that. But I knew that we needed to get into more of the real world because nobody else could interface with us anymore. I loved it because I knew how to do it, you know, but anyway, so you've seen that. The other thing, we've got a very experienced law firm. I mean, how many, just in the subjects we've covered, like how many lawyers in your experts in your organization? I would say 4 or 5 that have somehow fed into what we're working on as we're speaking tonight. That Ward checks with them, gets you know the expertise or whatever. You've got Joanna who understands all the stuff, and then we've got Jeff Green, who I was going to call yesterday because he was the arbitration man. And anyway, it's working, and it works well. And yeah, sure, the bills are high or whatever, but when you think of all the shortcuts and the things are being done accurately, it really pays for itself. And the same holds with Wildan. Like we've talked about this little project. Well, there's lots of disciplines that are going to feed into this project of the special needs rows, I guess I would call it. But when we need something, if Ron doesn't have it, he can find it. And he can get somebody who can call us back or give him input. And then what came up in my first year or 2 of meetings, it was all about traffic. And we put that to bed. We went to traffic's funeral tonight. You saw what those numbers were. And that was causing all the grief all throughout the community. And now we know the grief was real. Nobody quite knew how to deal with it. But then we brought in a traffic engineer and we dealt with it as the best we could. I mean, the ultimate was the gate, which was outside of our control, more or less, when we were there. The stop signs, the speed limits, the law enforcement, we were doing okay a couple of years ago compared to where we were 5 years ago. But then the ultimate happened, and now we're no longer a middle of the freeway community or whatever, up through community. So a lot's changed. And just looking at the logo, we talked about that for a few years, trying to give the community some more identity, which began with Julie and A. And then changing the community attitudes, or not the community's attitude, our attitude toward the community, that it's really not about us. And that's what we see from DC, that attitude, right? You're going to do this, right? It's the other way around. And so I think we've made huge improvements there. And also the board, I think we've had a few little problems in the past, but that's all smoothed out. And we're really making progress, and people know what's going on, have input into it, but I hope we're not like people working you guys too hard. Before, I think the boards were actually having to do a lot of probably my job. I'm not sure. But I think that's a historic thing, which we don't want to go all the way back to 45 years. But I think it's slowly evolved, and I think things are going well. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Okay, Let's see, we're gonna move on to agenda P, which is legal counsel matters, Mr. Ward.
Oh, I have a very short report because we're going to be going into closed session,
Correct.
but I brought you all some updates on the 2022 updates that we have little pocket parts for you on public finances and conflicts and gifts and Crown Act. So those are your gifts to take home and help you get to sleep.
Oh, it is.
Put in your pillow and memorize. So, just keep it as reference material, and that's really all I've got, and we'll count some more in closed session.
Alrighty, very good, thank you for that. Okay, and so Mr. Ward has indicated we will be going to closed session.
Okay.
And so we will ask our visitors to kindly exit the room. So those of you that want to rejoin us afterwards, you can wait out. Okay, let's see, the board has reconvened in open session. And Chuck, are you still with us?
She's back.
Yes, okay, Chuck, I just want to make sure you were back with us before we finish the last item. Okay, so that is agenda R, open session, and this is going to be in consideration of the amendment of the general manager's employee agreement. Is there a motion to approve agreement number 5, general manager employment agreement between James E. Emmons and the Duluth Community Services District?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, Bowman,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
D'Alessandro, Rawson,
Aye.
Roberts, aye. Definitely unanimously approved.
All right.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much. We
Looking
appreciate
forward
that.
to the next half decade here.
And believe me, yes, you really put to work in that. We got some big plans coming around the corner, right? Okay, well, this completes the Duluth CSD regular meeting of Board of Directors. I thank everybody, and this meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Feel better, Chuck.
Bye-bye.
Oh, well, I can collect them.
Yeah,
Two of them,
good idea.
one or two of them